Welcome, Exiles. This is just a quick video that I thought I'd record to go over my Winter Orb build in some depth, and cover some of the changes to it that we're going to be facing in 3.29. Now this is a little different to my normal content, but I've had a ton of people messaging me to ask for advice with Winter Orb over the last 24 hours, so this is just to help any new Warb enthusiasts out there. We did say that we'd like Winter Orb to receive some buffs and become a meta skill, and look at where we are. The footage you're seeing is from episode 3 of my Zero to Hero Winter Orb series that I did about 2 months ago. As you might notice, it's got some insane clear speed, wiping out multiple screens all at once. It also completely nukes endgame bosses down, while being respectably tanky, so let's go over some of the important stuff. Now first things first, all of the changes to the build are listed in the notes, as well as a full progression list. So if you're wondering what kind of upgrades you should be looking to get next, you've got this right here. First up, we've got loadouts for every single section, all the leveling, the pre-occultist swap, the mid-game, and the endgame. So we'll start with the very beginning. We're just using res, life, and attribute rares. And for our skills, just a standard Winter Orb, GMP, and Arcane Surge with some basic Vitality and Clarity auras. Heading into the next area, 31 to 46, we've upgraded some of our skill gems, but that's mostly based on the fact that if we can get it, we're going to use a Bitter Dream. This is basically a 7 link. If you can buy it, it's normally around 10, maybe 15 chaos, depending how things are going to go. Maybe this league is going to be a bit more expensive since so many people look like they're going to be playing Winter Orb, but if you can get this, it's absolutely worth it. When I used it last league, I was using it all the way until T16 and all the way until I actually swapped to the Occultist crit version of this build. Also, in terms of good uniques to use in this area, if you can get them, Mute Wind Whisper Steps, they're around 2 or 3 chaos, 25% move speed, a bit of res, 60% spell crit, and 25 to 50-ish cold damage to spells. These are insane boots if you can get them for a good price, so just keep an eye on these. Based on this as well, since this gives you so many support gems, your Winter Orb setups now still using GMP. I'm not entirely sure when you're going to be getting two projectiles on this now, because previously this would only give you 1 projectile. Now you're going to be going from 2 projectiles to 3. At the point where you get 3, I don't think this is going to be worth it anymore. You could drop this for a support that does actual damage rather than the utility. So just keep an eye out for that. Drop this when you're at 3 projectiles on Winter Orb and go for actual damage. And yeah, Arcane Surge, so just put these in the Bitter Dream. For auras, Zealotry and Purity of Elements, get your res up a bit, get some damage. We're using golems because at the start of this build, we're going to be an elementalist and we're going to head straight into the Legion of the Primordial. This is the obvious choice whenever you're leveling in a witch build. This is just insanely good for leveling, even after it's been nerfed twice. And I think that's it for this section. Vitality, Clarity, Frostblink. You could do a Steel Skin setup. I don't think it's really needed for leveling, but you know, why not? The next section, 46 to 70. Basically the same here. I think we've put in an Assassin's Mark as a curse because, you know, it's a bit helpful. We're still using GMP here. Again, I'm not sure when you're going to get the additional projectile, but as soon as you gain the extra projectile, you go up to 3. You can drop the GMP. I'll explain why very soon. In your items, we're still using Bitter Dream, Mute and Whisper Steps, but we now have a Sappho's Frame. We can equip this at level 59. This is basically 29 all res, plus 4 to your max resistances, which is insane, and 25% spell damage. This normally costs a couple of chaos, and in terms of the value you're going to get out of a shield slot, this is almost unbeaten for the price. It's crazy. As a league starting item, I would always go for this build, unless you can find some really, really good rare shield on the ground, or something that you just snipe on the market for a good price. I don't think you're beating this personally. The other option is Carcass Jack. This gives you area damage. Your Winter Orb is always doing area damage because the way that Winter Orb works, it fires projectiles that land and do an AoE explosion around them. And the reason we want area of effect is to make that explosion bigger. Now, the importance of this is when you're firing shots at a single target, we're always in this situation when we try and work out the single target damage of Winter Orb. We pretend we're fighting a zombie because we go for a small mob type, a small size of an enemy. Let's say we're fighting the zombie. We fire 5 projectiles at it. We need at least 2.4 meter AoE radius to have enough overlap for 4 of our projectiles to hit that zombie. This is the sweet spot, basically. You need 2.4 meters and 5 projectiles. If you try and go any higher with your AoE stacking, you kind of just don't get much value out of it. If you're trying to go any higher with your projectiles, you basically get 0 single target scaling out of it. You'd get a lot more clear speed out of it for sure, but you're just going to get stupid amount of clear speed anyway later on with your Herald device setup. So it's not worth going any further than this. Get your 2.4 meters of AoE, get 5 projectiles, don't go any further. Unless something changes, it's not worth it. So heading to the next part, pre-occultist swap. It's basically the exact same setup, just rares with resistance, life, and attributes, and the same sort of uniques we were looking at. You probably won't even need some of these with the buffs that they're receiving to Winter Orb, but you know, it's still some good suggestions. The tree, we're going to then be looking at Shaper of Storms for guaranteed shock, as well as Mastermind of Discord and Heart of Destruction. And then as soon as you have got some good investment, some good farm, it depends on the cost of some certain bits. We are going to be swapping to the Occultist. Now, what kind of investment do you need? It's all going to depend on the Ralakesh's Impatience boots. These are basically the gatekeeping item for the swap to crit. These normally cost around 4 to 5 divines for a power charge roll. But as soon as you have that 4 to 5 divines, don't swap yet, because you're going to need other things. You can't just buy these and swap. So if they cost 5 divines, get 7 or 8 divines and then do the swap. Because you're going to want to buy these. You're going to need to buy a Tollful, a Malachai's Loop, a Will Clash, and a Graven Secret to officially make the swap. This is, the whole package done in one. And when you've done that, you're also kind of going to be buying a 6-link body armor and a ES pair of gloves. So it's going to cost a bit more money than you think. It's still not going to be expensive. These are a few Chaos Orbs each. This will cost, depending how early you get it, maybe 15 Chaos. 6-link body armor is maybe a divine. You could buy the base itself for a divine, maybe 2 divines, hit it with some essences. Gloves, just buy some Warlock gloves, hit it with essences. You don't need these, by the way, are just the goal of what you're trying to get to in the mid game. These are not what you're expected to get when you swap over to the Occultist version. So don't worry, don't panic when you see these. The same with all of this, by the way. You're probably looking at this swap from the pre-Occultist to mid game thinking, oh my god, how you swap into this. You're not meant to have all of this at once. This is why we have the notes section here. It's going to tell you what you want to be buying at what sort of period of time. Yeah, so we get all of that. That gives you the power charge stacking. You get the benefits of power charges from each of these 3 uniques. The Ralakesh's Impatience guarantees that you're constantly on your maximum amount of power charges regardless of what happens. And your Graven Secret is going to give you absorption charges based on your power charges, which basically give you a ton of ES regen when you take elemental damage. From that point on, you're then able to get your cluster jewels. We're using small cluster jewels, which is a little bit weird. This one is going to give us, let's go to the actual tree so you can see it a bit more clearly. This one's going to give us Enduring Ward, which is giving us endurance charges when we block, which is pretty much always. We've got a high block chance in here. We're stacking maximum block. Endurance charges are a lot of tankiness on this build. We're going to go from 110k EHP down to 80k if we turn them off. So it's worth trying to get them for the extra passive points. And then for the other small cluster jewel, we're taking Righteous Path on a reduced mana reservation small cluster. This is 50% reduced mana reservation increased mana reservation efficiency for Zealotry. This is going to give us the mana we need to be able to stack Herald of Ice, Tempest Shield, Clarity, and Zealotry and Discipline with the use of an Enlighten. Before you get these jewels, don't use Tempest Shield. Just get rid of a Tempest Shield. You need Herald of Ice because the clear is insane. You're going to need Clarity for the mana, and then Discipline and Zealotry are just insane. So the Tempest Shield we can go without. Grab this once you've got the cluster jewel set up here. From that point on, what have we got? We've got more cluster jewels. The Red Nightmare setup is quite powerful. It's going to be a bit pricey, so it's something you're going to be grabbing later on in the mid game. But essentially what you want to do is put the Red Nightmare in this area here on the left, in this socket. And what you can do, I haven't got them all socketed or allocated here, but You can use Tattoos of the Nagamahu Firewalker to turn your strength nodes in this area to fire res. By doing that, the 50% of the value, essentially each one of these 6% fire res nodes becomes 3% attack block. By doing that, you can get capped on your attack block fairly easily with the combination of that and a Rumi's Concoction. So it's pretty valuable. It's not something that's so essential you need it early on, but something that you would probably want later in the mid game when you're getting to the point of maybe like 100 divine investment. This is a huge point here, the Elegant Hubris setup with the Impossible Escape. Early on in the mid game, you are going to want to get an Elegant Hubris. This is a big priority. Because what the Elegant Hubris does, if we get an Elegant Hubris of Caspero, it will give us the Supreme Ostentation Keystone passive. This basically removes any benefit from having attributes, but it means we don't need to stack any attributes. It fixes all attribute requirements on our gear, which is just, it's my favorite item in the game. I use this in so many builds, you'll probably notice it as a trend when you look at my videos. But on top of this, what we're doing with it is we are grabbing a specific number. We can search for a whole wide number of numbers to get the Frenzy Charge on hit Eternal Favor passive. This is just going to generate all the Frenzy Charges for us. So why do we want Frenzy Charges? Well, Frenzy Charges are going to give us cast speed and just generic damage. And the reason that's so powerful is because if we get a Badge of the Brotherhood, our Frenzy Charges become equal to our power charges. That's insane. We're stacking at this point around 11 power charges, which means 11 Frenzy Charges. I'll show you the power of it now. Our cast rate is 8.68. Our hit DPS, so just the damage we're doing per hit, 6.6 million. If we turn off the Frenzy Charges, I now go down to 6.6 cast rate, and I take, what's that, 3 million hit DPS lost? That's how powerful this is, this combination. And the reason it feels so good is because when you're playing Winter Orb, you need to constantly stop and continue to channel the Winter Orb to get your stacks maintained. With a high enough cast rate, you don't really need to channel as much as you just need to tap it. At this point, when you have this setup, you just kind of run through the map, and whenever you get near a pack of rare mobs, you just kind of tap it for a second maybe, and then just carry on running. Doing this is enough to maintain your Winter Orb at 10 stacks pretty much the whole time. You'll notice the difference when you get this setup. Before it may feel a little bit clunky, a little bit slow. As soon as you've got the Frenzy Charges with the Badge of the Brotherhood, it will feel very smooth, very, very nice. I think that's pretty much it for the gear. The Impossible Escape is a really important item for when you get later on. If you take the Impossible Escape with the Pain Attunement, which is, this is normally Pain Attunement, I can then allocate all of the nodes within this circle without having to path to them. So like if I wanted this one for some reason, I could just take it. So if you take a specific number, you can use the Find Timeless jewel set up here. Let's say I search Mind Over Matter. Okay, well, I can use this to search. For some reason it's not searching. Let's ignore that for now. But so in this situation, I found one with 12% attack block, the Frenzy Charge on hit, increased damage per power charge, which is the most powerful thing we can get on these jewels, another increased damage per power charge, and increased damage per endurance charge, which isn't quite as good, but increased damage per power charge and frenzy charge is a disgusting amount of power. So that's what we kind of want to be looking for here, and this is going to allow us to grab them really easily. Another thing with this, when you're grabbing an Elegant Hubris, these are going to be a little bit awkward to find. You want to get very specific numbers, they're not available, people are going to be competing with them. Like this, well, I don't think it was this one. I think it was the next one I bought in my Zero to Hero series. I think I paid something like 20 divines for it, and it went up to 150 divines because there're just so few of them of specific numbers. So if you are struggling to find one in this area, well, you can just do this. Go over here, grab these nodes, and go up here and put it with this. It's literally the same thing mirrored. Put the Elegant Hubris in this socket, do Mind Over Matter instead of Pain Attunement, and for your Impossible Escape, don't grab Pain Attunement, but Mind Over Matter on this roll. It's all the same thing, so you have the option of doing either side. I think that's it for the mid game. Skills, I think we're still pretty much, yeah, we're good. Let's head over to the end game. Things change up a bit here, especially for our Hell device. This setup is the most broken thing right now when you're playing a build like this. Scornful Herald basically turns off the buff effect of whatever herald you're using, but it gives it a base crit chance. Heralds don't come with any base crit chance, so no matter how much crit multi, crit chance I stack in my build, Herald Device won't crit. Scornful Herald gives it the base chance which allows it to then crit. So why is this in particular so strong? Well, Herald Device is an explosion. That's why we're using it. We don't care about the buff effect. And the way it works is if we kill a frozen enemy, then they'll shatter and explode. Now, Herald Device had no way of freezing enemies previously because it had no crit chance. So we had to do all the freezing, and therefore the Herald Device was kind of limited to its own space of where we were damaging. Now, Herald Device has a base crit chance, and therefore we can scale its crit chance all the way to 100%. So now, all I need to do is hit a single enemy in a pack, freeze them and kill them, and they will explode. The explosion will freeze everything around it, causing them to then explode, which will freeze everything around them, causing them to explode, and so on and so on. And as you saw in the intro, that can lead to entire screens being wiped all at once. I think like the best I had was maybe 3 screens at one time. It's crazy strong. Other than that, our auras are somewhat similar. We are using Frostblink of Wintry Blast because this does not come with a cooldown. This only comes with a cast time, meaning as long as you can sustain the mana cost of it and you have a high cast speed, you can travel extremely fast. That's why we don't have much move speed. I mean, we have some move speed, but you essentially don't need to run anywhere. You just spam this and you can get through a map faster than most builds with high move speed. It's very powerful. Please get Frostblink of Wintry Blast on this build. Other than that, we've got Purity of Elements, which we don't really need. I mean, look at our resistances. And we're also going to be freeze immune thanks to the fact that we are now picking up Frigid Wake. But honestly, the main reason is because I hate Ignite. This makes you Ignite immune, and the Ignite really just bothers me when I'm playing this build. There's probably other ways to deal with it, but those ways are really janky. You can turn this off because if you turn this off, you don't have to stack as much mana reservation efficiency. It can make gearing a bit easier. It's up to you. See how you feel. You could turn it off, see if Ignite's bothering you, and if it's not, just, turn it off and it will make your life a bit easier. For me, I just turned it on. I would rather make my life a bit harder with gearing. And finally, for the skills, we've got 3 curses. We've got Frostbite and Elemental Weakness that we're applying with Bane, as well as a Sniper's Mark. That is a lot of curses, but we do have the facilities to do it. Only in the endgame version of this build, though, it takes a lot of investment, so let's look at the gear for that. Now, in the endgame version of this, most of our upgrades are just coming from corruptions. Most of our uniques are actually kind of cheap, so corruptions aren't too hard to get. Things like Tollfall, Malachi's Loop, Will Clash, Ralakesh's are even kind of cheap when you get to the endgame. Badge of the Brotherhood's fairly cheap. Ramira's Banquet is actually surprisingly cheap. I was buying these for around 30C each and then double corrupted them. Graven Secret's very cheap at the end of the, maybe like a week or two into the league. I think I'm getting them for like 2 or 3 chaos. So yeah, we're going to start looking at all the good corruptions we can get because there will normally be a few divines each. This one, you do not need a Foulborn Tollfall. I bought Foulborn Tollfall because the damage penetrates elemental resistance corruption was way cheaper on a Foulborn one than it was on a normal one. As long as it has the adds 50 to 70 cold damage to spells per power charge mod, it's fine. Just make sure you don't lose that mod with the Foulborn, and you're fine. Just damage pen's insane on this though, so that's a great one. Malachi's Loop, I've got a chance to block. Will Clash, this is an extremely important one to get, +1 max power charge. And try your best to get this on a higher rolled Will Clash because you can get, I think it goes from 3 to 5% on the elemental damage, so you can lose a lot of damage that way. If you can't get a 5% elemental damage one, 3% is not that bad. +1 max power charge here is the absolute important thing to get. Like, it's so much damage. But try to get the 5% if you can. Ralakesh's Impatience, I've got some Curse Gems and some Maxi Airs. Badge of the Brotherhood, I've got +1 Curse. I think I paid, was it 30 Divines for this? Maybe 30, maybe 40? For +1 Curse on a badge, that's pretty good. But this is, again, this is an endgame thing. This is when we're looking at like 1,000 Divines investment. On Ramira's Banquet, try to get a Zealotry increased effect corruption. This is an extremely powerful corruption. I tried to double corrupt to try and get it, and I accidentally got cold damage with it, which was crazy, which is why I'm using a Galandra's Touch. From what I understand, though, you will be able to corrupt rings and hit +1 max power charges this league. So in 3.29, you have the potential to corrupt a Ramirez Banquet and get +2 max power charges. Don't take me at my word for that because that's what I've been told, but that might happen. And if so, you could get +4 power charges from your rings. Your Ramirez Banquet would quite literally be better than a Mirror Tier ring at that point. This is already coming close. Like, well, relatively close. Insane. Graven Secret, try and get some crit multi, just a great corruption for that. In the endgame, we've got a Dying Sun. I didn't mention this earlier. This is something I missed. I really should have talked about this in the midsection. Dying Sun. This is going to give us 2 additional projectiles during the effect. So previously we needed to use a greater multiple projectiles support because we wanted, as I said earlier, 5 projectiles with 2.4 meters of AoE. Now we're going to have 3 projectiles inherently on the skill gem of Winter Orb. With a Dying Sun, that puts us at 5 projectiles. So this kind of just solves the issue. This alone means that in our skills, we do not need a GMP support or a normal multiple projectile support. We can just go full on damage supports. This is why we're making up for the damage of an imbued support, because sadly we have lost imbued supports, which is sad, but this alone makes up for it. It's really, really strong. So get yourself a Dying Sun. Do this in the mid game. I am sorry, I should have mentioned this. Going to endgame stuff in the jewels, Forbidden Flame of Flesh, Mastermind of Discord. If Mastermind of Discord is really expensive, you can instead take the Shaper of Storms. Having 25% shock is also very, very powerful. A Foulborn Blue Dream. Previously in this section, I talked about having a Red Dream. Now you can get a Foulborn Blue Dream because we're not really as bothered about speccing into the block because we're going to be doing so much damage that most stuff isn't even going to get a chance to hit us. If something survives our initial damage, it's probably going to be frozen or never even get a chance to even swing at us. So, Foulborn Blue Dream. This is going to give us 3 crit multi per power charge, so at this point around 36% crit multi, and it's going to give us energy shield at 75% of the value of any lightning res that we have here. So, in this radius, all of these energy shield, all of these int nodes can be turned into lightning res, and this node here does count. This gives us 12 all res, so this counts for this dual node. Go back to the items. Elegant Hubris, I think we have just upgraded here to a way stronger one. So it's the same as before. Oh no, this is the, yeah, so I've got the Frenzy Charge on hit still. We absolutely need that. Previously in 3.28, we were using a Screams of the Desiccated Belt with a Resonating Shrine. This was generating all of our charges for us, endurance, frenzy, and power. But now we don't have access to that anymore. So we need to find a source in the endgame of frenzy and endurance charges. So we're keeping the frenzy charge on hit on the Elegant Hubris, and we're keeping the Enduring Ward Small Cluster. It's a bit of a shame. It's a lot more awkward. You could just drop the endurance charges as well at this point and just take a huge crit multi-duel. See how you feel about it. See if you just feel really tanky. It might be worth it for you. But yeah, in general here, you're going to want to grab a frenzy charge on hit duel. If you want to keep the 50% aura here, I talked about having the Purity of Elements. It's a 50% cost aura. If you want to keep this or swap it for another 50% aura, maybe you want haste, for example, to just go faster, you are going to need 12% mana reservation efficiency as well. If you don't care about the 50% aura, you can drop this and just take a frenzy charge and hit node with a ton of damage. Crit chance, spell damage, crit multi, power charge, damage per power charge, damage per frenzy charge, whatever. But yeah, these are the 2 that you would need. Potentially not this one. The point of Watcher's Eye, energy shield per enemy hit is extremely powerful. With this, you just watch your energy shield go down by a hit and suddenly it pings straight back up. It's extremely, extremely good. Try and get that. And I think, oh no, there's one more thing. Previously, you will have had large cluster jewels. These are set in the notes section, so keep an eye out for those. But something you will probably want to get is this cluster jewel. A 12 passive cold cluster with 35% increased effect, attack and cast speed, all res, and max CS. this gives you a ton of damage. It also fixes all of your resistances permanently, and it's just a ton of flat ES. This is an insane jewel. Try to make one of these. The best way to craft it is to get the fractured 35% increased effect, and then just roll speed modifiers on the Horta crafting station. It's not too hard to hit. It's just it can normally cost, I think it's around about 30 divines on average to hit. It's not the worst. Not when you're at this level of gear. So yeah. And at that point, you're kind of done. If you get to this point of gear and you're still looking for advice, well, then you have beaten me in terms of progression. Hopefully, this helped. Apologies for not having it as high quality as it normally is, but you can expect a higher quality video in a couple days' time. Thanks for watching, everyone. Good luck with your warbin, and I'll see you in 3.29. Take care.